All right, so, Mr. Bostwick, are you ready?
Oh God! Yeah. Hello. 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 No, it's not on. Yeah. Now it's up. Is it on now?
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. Yeah. Yeah. This is for all those people way in the back there.
Wait,
Can you hear me?
back.
It's Friday night. Friday,
And it's payday.
and we haven't even started drinking yet, have we?
No, we have done.
No.
What time you start?
I have. I did. You have?
You have?
Really?
You know, yesterday was 420.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I mean, I know I went over to that little thing up in the park across the way
Yes, sir.
and listened to some really shitty music. I don't, I'm sorry, but, but at the hotel, I kept on hearing this music at the hotel, and what was that? So I walked across the pond, or whatever it is, all the way over there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and there was a lot of screaming and yelling.
It was really bad music.
It was it was rap music.
Wait, you don't like rap music?
No, I don't. You got a problem with that?
No, I don't like country. Yeah, I just can't. It's just one of them things where it's like, I just can't. It just don't do it for me.
Yeah.
Now, line dances, I can do that. I enjoy line dances.
You do?
I do. I really do.
You know the time warp?
I would love for you to show me the time.
I don't know the time warp. I never did. I did the. I never danced. No, I didn't do it. I didn't do the time warp. But consequently, I think I learned it because it's been 48 years, and I'd be an idiot if I haven't learned it in 48 years. But yeah, no. So the time warp. Who knows how to do the time warp?
Okay.
So let's.
You know what? I probably know how to do it. I just can't remember. I don't know if that's. I'm 38, so is that really the name they've been using for that long, or they changed the name? Because everything changes names these days.
Yeah, they do.
And it's the same thing but different names.
Yeah. Well, my name's Terrence. If you haven't. No, I always thought I wanted to be a Terrence.
Listen.
My wife said to me the other day, she goes, Terrence is a very gay name. And I said, it is? Yeah, and she said Robin Williams did some bit about a hurricane named Terrence.
Yeah.
And apparently he called this hurricane
Terrence,
and it was a gay hurricane.
You're not the only one that want to change the name. Me and my father have the same name, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to change because I got tired of people calling me his name.
Yeah.
I wanted to change my name to Matthew. So at least I'm not the only one.
Matthew.
And my parents were like, why do you want to be Matthew? Because all my friends' name was Matthew, and it would be easy for us to call each other the same name. Hey Matthew, hey Matthew, hey Matthew. It was like, yeah, that's not right. That's ridiculous. And they thought in their head, hopefully he just forgets it and don't even worry about it. Guess what? I did forget it. I kept it.
Well, I never changed my name to Terrence. I don't know why. Probably because it's very gay.
Yeah. By the way, I want to say thank you for everything you've done. You're absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
You've done a very amazing job in your
I'm kept busy, and I still keep busy.
What you got going on there that you can talk about?
Right now?
Uh-huh.
I got a movie coming out called Outlaw Johnny Black, and a couple other movies one called Gorilla, and I never remember. I'll go on my IMDb page.
I do. Yeah, long page that has all your extra credits on there.
All my credits and everything, and then I realized, I did that. Yeah, that'll be on soon.
So what's the best thing you've done? Say that.
Best thing?
The best, not necessarily the best thing, because I guess everybody says that I do all these projects and everything is actually like I love them all because I wouldn't do it if I didn't, right? But
I would. I do it for the money.
Okay, so what's the one you did for the most money?
Oh, for the most money? A couple of Disney movies, Sunday night movies. What was the one with the triplets, with the kids?
Oh, you mean the mountain?
No, not Secret of the Mountain. No, the other ones have.
They were
Hidden Mills. I played with Hidden Mills.
Yes.
Yeah, what was the name of that?
Go on
to my IMDb.
I can definitely do that. That's what I was
Parent Trap. Yeah, Parent Trap. Yeah, I did 2 of those. We were supposed to do 3 of them, and we did 2 of them. Parent Trap, Hawaii honeymoon.
Parent Trap, Hawaii honeymoon.
That Hawaii honeymoon, yeah. And then there was another Parent Trap I did. Yeah, I did. And in fact, if you come to my table, I've got DVDs of those two Parent Trap movies that I just did a Disney convention a month or so ago in beautiful Bakersfield, California. And he says that with disdain. Because Bakersfield is not the best place in the world to go. And I bought all of these Disney things because it was a Disney thing, you know. And I got to Bakersfield and nobody bought any of it. So I've got all these Disney DVDs from, 101 Dalmatians 2 and, Teen Beach Movie and Hannah Montana and all these things that I've done. And so I have a plethora of them at my table. I'll give you a deal.
I'm trying to get rid of it.
I'm trying to get rid of it. So I don't have to carry them around. Yeah. The Disney thing. There were just two of them, and we were supposed to do a third one. And they didn't, I think they canceled the Sunday night Disney movies by that time, and so they never did a third one.
Special presentation when they do this.
But they didn't do a third one. The first two were quite popular.
Very much so.
And so they just paid me off for the third one. And I've never made so much money for doing nothing.
That's way, right?
Oh, well, that was back in the 80s or something,
Right.
when they paid you a lot of money for things like that.
Yeah, I saw the Green 184.
Oh, did you ever see George Washington, the miniseries I made, 5 or 6 hour miniseries? No, you have to see that. That's very good.
That miniseries was done. It was done at the.
You saw it.
Early. It was.
Well, your hand is up.
That's because this lady right here, she really has a question for you. And
Oh, you have a
she's
question?
afraid to raise her own hand, so I can't.
I'm just super paranoid.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe I should take your question.
Can I take a question?
I'll take the question. What would be the question?
It's actually two things.
Okay.
I was wondering, what was it like when you were on Supernatural? You were on one of my favorite episodes.
Oh, thank you. Supernatural. Yeah, it was a good episode. What was the name of that episode?
Chris Angel is a douchebag.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you wonder how the hell they got away with that. Without getting sued by him or, that's amazing. But it's a good episode. Those two guys, the kids who played the leads, were wonderful. I just remember that before each take, each one of them had a handler who took their cell phones away from them before they did each take, and then the take went over, they'd give them their cell phones back.
That definitely sounds like a good idea.
That's what they were, and they were really good. Did I die at the end of that? No, I didn't die.
You did kill one of them.
I killed my best friend or something. Yeah.
And I also had a second question.
What's the second?
Did Jared and Jensen ever try pulling any pranks on you when you were on that episode?
No, they were a little busy. People like myself, we came in and out that series in 3 days. We'd come in, we'd shoot our thing, and we'd leave, and they would barely know who we were. I did, and you can't blame them. I mean, when I was doing Spin City for 6 years, I couldn't remember. I mean, people would come in and, it was, you were on a treadmill,
Mm-hmm.
Naked Gun. Who's that actor on Naked Gun?
Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen. Yeah, I did a movie with him. What did I do with him? Spy Hard. Thank you very much. I did Spy Hard with him, and I just remember the whole time he would call me, "Hey Terry, hey Terry." He never knew my name. I was with him for like 3 weeks or something. But it was always, "Hey Terry," and then he would do the little fart machine. "Hey Terry."
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, you want the normal question or you want the sexual question?
Ooh, well, I got the sexual question from him.
He's already got the question.
I got another one. Okay, you know, I want the normal question.
Okay, what's it like working with Tim Curry and Meatloaf?
Tim Curry and Meatloaf. I think Meatloaf was the first time I ever tried cocaine. I think that was my first remembrance of Meatloaf.
Okay.
First time in a car on the way to the set one day, you know. And then Tim was a total professional. He just was the best. He was a wonderful actor, you know, and befriended us all. And he actually remembered my name, you know. Because we were sort of out, Susan and I were sort of the outsiders during Rocky Horror, because we were the Americans. We came in, it was perfect for the part, you know, and we didn't really know anybody. And but Meat was he was the other American, and he had done the show on stage. We had never done it on stage, and Meat and I have since then we became closer friends, and I have such respect for him, not only as a rock and roll star, but also as an actor. He was a great actor. Last time I worked with him was on an episode of Glee. He and I did an episode of Glee, the Rocky Horror episode. They didn't have us sing. I don't know why, but we played two jerks. You know, I think people who were worked at a TV station, so they ran the TV station. But Tim is obviously, if you know, I mean, he's suffering. He's had a stroke, and he's not, you know, he's been, 5 or 6 years he's been in a wheelchair, and he needs constant care, and he still goes out and does these conventions once or twice a year. It's just amazing, and the fans support him and love him, and he gives the same kind of care and love back. I don't think he's going to be traveling much anymore. It's too hard on him, but I think he's getting back to his voiceover career a little bit. You know, he was so prolific in terms of his animation stuff, and he's getting his voice back. But unfortunately, he'll never rise up from that chair. Now, what's the sexy question?
Oh, but
I warn you, what's it like to perform at the pool with all the characters having you know what?
Oh, when we were all underwater?
Yeah, and doing erotica stuff.
Yeah. I tried to aim for the women, you know, and I think I accomplished it in a couple of instances. The difficult with the pool scene was getting out of the pool and then having to do a kick line wet in 6-inch heels. You know, if you've ever had that opportunity to do that, have you? No, okay. I wouldn't have thought that would be true. But it was, the water was freezing. You know, it was a low budget movie. They didn't heat up the water for the actor. Apparently somebody said that Susan stepped on my toe or something there's this rumor, but apparently you can see it in the film. I don't remember it because I think my feet were so cold and were numb. We were all numb by that point, you know, doing that scene. That was one of the best. That was one of the best scenes in it. I thought, you know, the guy who choreographed it. Passed away. Brad on stage in London was very upset that he didn't get cast in the movie, and they asked him to play another part in the movie. One of the guy gets married, I think, in the beginning, and he turned it down flatly. And then he became a partner with Richard O'Brien, and they directed Rocky Horror all over the world for many years, and he directed it, and so his connection with Rocky Horror was all the way to the end. They're doing there's a production of it now in England, I think, right? I think there's a production now. They'll probably do his anniversary production somewhere. Did I answer your sex question?
I think you did.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, anybody in the pink?
Pink. Pink.
Oh, she was waving. Okay. Person that's pointing to somebody else that's in white.
Somebody was just
Right here
waving.
with the
Somebody was waving. Yes. Did you say is there a DVD of George Washington?
You have a DVD of George Washington's at your name.
Oh, no, I don't. I should probably get one, shouldn't I? Yeah, I would at least sell one to you.
Yeah,
absolutely. It does exist, though. I think that does exist. I mean, I have all that George Washington stuff in VHS tapes, going way back, and but then I don't have a VHS player anymore.
What is VHS?
Yeah. And what was the beta? Do you remember?
I do. My dad told me the story about it. It's the same story between Blu-ray and high definition HD. Remember, because they had both came out, so it was the same battle between Beta and VHS. And if you don't know, Beta is actually Blu-ray DVDs. The same how they actually built their technology with having so much data and information in it.
Yeah.
It's the same way they actually took that concept and made Blu-ray DVDs out of it.
That's interesting.
Yep. So Blu-ray 1. So Beta 1, the second go round. Yeah. Versus DVD HD.
Yeah.
The guy in the purple. Is that blue or purple? Blue. Sorry.
Kind of a two-part question on the same thing. No matter what quality of production you're in, you are always a bright spot in it. So with that being said, your ability to kind of steal scenes, was there ever an actor that just absolutely hated you for that ability? And two, was there an actor that you played against that you were just like, that mother, because of their ability to do that?
That's a fully loaded question. Wow. Did anybody hear his question?
Yeah, he's saying, am I ham?
No!
Yeah, exactly.
Do I overact?
Right. Do you take over the crowd? Like you just take things over?
Well, that's the stage actor. It goes all the way back to when I was doing a lot of stuff on stage.
I call it charisma.
Charisma.
That's what you got.
Oh, well, thank you.
Charisma.
I can give you this picture right now. And who used to steal from me? I
Yeah,
don't
who was mad at you for doing that? And who
Who's mad at you for
hate
taking
seeing
the
you
scene?
for the same reason?
God.
Did you ever have him mad at you?
No, nobody's ever mad at me. Except my wife, my kids.
Amen to that, brother.
Yeah. No, but I'm trying to think of somebody who actually. Well, I just remember way back when we first started Spin City, Mike Fox. Mike was concerned that I was taking too much time or being. We had different styles of rehearsing. Mike was so spontaneous. He wouldn't know his lines until 2 hours before we filmed, and because he could learn them like that, he was so smart, so bright, and he had the photographic memory. I, on the other hand, came from the stage, and I needed to rehearse, and I needed to work out bits, and I needed to, do all that.
Right.
And I think we sort of, it took me about a year with him to realize that he was actually my boss. And I had to adjust to him, and he wasn't going to adjust to me. And then from then on, he taught me so much as a mentor in that arena. He is, you see his documentary is coming out in about 3 weeks. It's brilliant. Yeah, so you know what? I've lost all of my charisma in the last 30 seconds, but thank you very much.
Oh, no, you didn't lose your charisma at all.
You still got it.
I still got it.
It's
Oh,
You
yeah.
always have.
Thank you.
Young man right here with the Harry Potter. That is Harry Potter, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
I think, iconic is Brad. I love Rocky Horror Picture Show, one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. So what's your favorite song from it, and which one?
Oh, from Rocky?
Yeah.
My favorite song? Once in a while, she don't want to call on you. It got cut from the movie. Yeah, once in a while. Yeah. It was a good song at the wrong place in the movie. And in fact, when you see it on stage, it seems just out of place. But it's a sweet song. But nobody when they were editing the movie, nobody gave a shit about Brad's emotional condition after being nailed by Frankenfurter, and what his attitude and relationship with Janet was at that point. They just wanted to move on and get to the more racy stuff. And so for Brad to sit on the edge of the bed and sing once in a while, it just didn't work. But I think it's a good song. I like Damn It, Janet, just because it's so iconic at this point, But what's the one that Tim sings at the end, throws the cards and
I see blue sky.
blue sky, yeah, that's a great song. And he does it brilliantly. I mean, you really sort of feel for him at that point. I mean, and you shouldn't, because he's a despicable human being. And so that would probably be my second favorite song. And what was the other one? That was it.
That was it, favorite song?
Yeah, there was something else.
This one. What's your favorite? Well, I don't know. You said your favorite experience was the pool scene, or what's your favorite?
The pool
experience?
scene?
What was your favorite experience working on it?
Oh, my favorite.
If that was, or
watching Susan Sarandon being felt out by that was my favorite scene. Touch me. We all just wanted to touch her. So that would be one of my fondest memories, even though I wasn't in the scene, but believe me, I was watching it off to the side.
Young man in the is that police or fire?
So in the clowns.
The clowns with a K. We like to say clowns with a K.
What happened with that? With the whole the group? Why did it break up?
Oh.
Get together ever?
What he's talking about is a rock group that was put together in the late 60s by Barnum and Bailey, Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey. And it was called The Clowns. And we did an album, and it was all sort of poppy, sugar kind of music. And in fact, it was produced by the same guy who did Sugar. And we had one song that went on the charts. It was like 37 or something, with a bullet going down. So it was going in the absolute wrong direction. And the music is actually pretty good. We did a TV special. They were doing an hour special where they would have Barnum and Bailey did their acts, and then they would have celebrities who would come on. And the celebrities wouldn't do circus, like there was that Circus with the Stars thing on for years. It wasn't like that. They actually had celebrities, and we were the interlocutors we held the whole thing together. Sammy Davis Jr. was our first guest, and our only guest, because it never went past the pilot stage. And because the album didn't take off,
and the show didn't take off, we took off. You know, so we didn't go any further with it. But I was at NYU. I was an acting student at NYU working on my master's, and there was a teacher there who taught circus arts for the actor, a guy named Hubby Burgess, who taught at Juilliard and taught at NYU, and he taught juggling and all this kind of stuff. So I was one of his students, and so when we were cast as the clowns, these 5 kids, I taught them all how to do some of this circus stuff, you know, and it was going to be part of our act that never really materialized. I used my juggling skills and some Shakespearean stuff later on. That was about it. The Clowns, you can get the album on eBay. I think the last thing I saw was like 95 cents. I used to have a couple of them, and I would bring them to these conventions occasionally. It was. I do get requested for a Clowns album now and then.
I'll give you $5. I'll give you about 96 cents.
You would? Yeah, if you had a couple of them, I'd buy them from you.
Yeah. So I have a question. I'll get back to the crowd in a second. So what was the, you've done a lot of work. Some work has been released, some work hasn't. What has been the best pilot you've done that never has been seen?
Pilot?
Yeah, what's your best pilot you've done that you thought it was and it just was never released?
I think I did a pilot called Young Guy Christian. And I was sort of like a rich, cocky guy who thought he could, solve all the problems in the world, and it was a tongue-in-cheek thing. Who was the girl from Cheers originally? Who? Shelley. Yeah, it was Shelley and me, and the guy from the Kung Fu movie. No, the Asian guy. Was it Kung Fu? No, it wasn't Kung Fu then. It was the other Karate Kid. Yeah, Pat Morita was in it.
Okay.
Pat Morita, her, and me, and it was a really good cast. But it was just, I like to say it was ahead of its time.
Okay.
That's what I think. But in other words, I think I just overacted like crazy. It was one of those, when you're doing something that is a send up of a style,
Yeah.
it's very hard to stay within the parameters of sending it up and being real. You always want to just go a little bit too far with it.
Yeah.
And one of the things with like Rocky Horror, why it works is that none of us really, we still, I think, grounded our characters in reality, but when we did Young Guy Christian, everybody was just a little too over the top and self-consciously funny, trying to be funny. I'm funny now, Yes.
Young lady in the back with the bow, and the hat, with the high.
So you played the character that we were talking about earlier, Washford, in Devil's Carnival Alalita. What was going through your mind during the scene when you took Linda Smith's hand and stuck her whole fist in your mouth?
I put my whole fist in my
No,
mouth?
you stuck her whole fist.
And you took her fist and put it in her mouth.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
So what was the movie?
You sure this wasn't on the way to Rocky Horror with Meatloaf? No? Okay, now, remind me, I remember I played the Watchword, and I remember that it's really a good musical film. Great songs, and I remember that when I was shooting, when we were pre-recording my song, the Watchword song, that the director kept saying to me, go bigger, just overdo it, really go really big with it. And so if you listen to it, he's very broad, right? And I don't know what that has to do with somebody's fist in their mouth.
There's a scene where you meet one of the main females, and instead of just like kissing the top of her hand, you took her whole fist and you stuck it in your mouth.
Oh, I stuffed it in my mouth.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that was
I tried to be as weird as I could in that, and because Darren, the director, encouraged me to do that, and so I don't know what the impetus of that was, other than I just trying to be crazy and weird and just come up with something that I probably didn't even think of. I probably just did it, But that's what's been sort of fun about what I do. These like movies like Sleigh Bells. Have you ever seen that? You saw Sleigh Bells? Yeah. It was a Krampus movie. Yeah, I played a biker Santa Claus. Yeah, and but those are fun for me because I just really get to do whatever I want, because we make it in 3 days. The other movie that if you haven't seen, FDR American Badass. Yeah, if you haven't seen that yet, that's an amazing movie. For a movie that you made in 10 days, it really is funny and fun and gross. And just, you don't screen it in front of the kids. But it's a hysterical movie, FDR, American Badass.
Sounds fun. Yeah. Okay, so real quick, if you guys don't mind, we have about 15 more minutes left. If you can line up that at the microphone, it'd be great. You guys do that for me? If they are able to do it. If you're not able to do it, they'll still call you. But
they're all just leaving now. Right?
It does make it a little easier. If you guys are able to do that for me.
Oh God, you're
First off, it's a mistake to ever give me a microphone.
Never a mistake, it's just an opportunity. Go ahead.
So I think all of us can agree in here that you have the absolute best set of gams in movie history. Right? I want to know if you can still get that leg all the way up.
She's asking for a lot.
Yeah.
But no, not you. Don't quit right now.
Well, I wouldn't. I couldn't. Oh, maybe I could. I went back to my yoga classes. I probably could. Yeah. I feel sorry for the poor kids who have to play Brad and all of these shadow casts around the world, because they all feel obliged to, at that point, put that leg up in the air.
And nobody can do it like you.
Oh, well, thank you. That's amazing. That's awesome. Yeah.
Hello, hi there. Whoa, okay. I was curious if you could talk about maybe one of your favorite stage roles or experiences.
Well, I think probably the first sort of Tony nomination was Grease. I created the part of Danny Zuko in Grease on Broadway. And that was like 2 years of my life, which were the best 2 years, at those times, 71, I think. And it just created this tidal wave of nostalgia, for the 50s. And I think we were at the head of that. American Graffiti and us, and then a few things after that. But similar to Rocky, it wasn't a huge hit when it first opened. It had to create its audience. The audience came back again and again and again. Sort of like what happened with Rent, that musical. People, it was, again, they had like 30 and 40 times kids would come back and see Rent. But I think Grease was the cast. we stayed very close over the years. We just had our 50th anniversary. A book was just released. Tell me more. And it's all interviews and stuff with everybody who was involved with it way back when in the first touring companies. And I have a copy of it at my table. If you're interested in musical theater and the creation of musical theater and Greece in particular, you should read this book. It just came out at our 50th anniversary last year. That's it, yeah. Thank you.
So you have worked with or been with three of my biggest crushes over the last 40 years or so.
I think about says, oh boy.
Well, first one you married, Stacey Duncan, but at that age of my life, I thought she was absolutely beautiful and amazing. And Susan, of course, in Rocky Horror. The last one, Carla Gugino, was briefly Mike's girlfriend in the early episodes of Spin City.
Yeah.
And they got rid of her very quickly. And was there like a reason behind that, or they just wanted to open up his character for love interest, or I thought she was.
I think they realized at the beginning of Spin City that with somebody like Mike, you couldn't pin him down to one relationship, and they just needed to cycle him through, some of the best looking women in the world.
Which they did a good job.
Which they did, and even I got to have a girl. I even Farrah Fawcett was my girlfriend for 2 or 3 episodes, and so not so shabby there. And I think they realized that the dynamic, even though she's a great actress and they worked well together, it was just the wrong relationship. And Mike is such a smart guy. That he saw the future, and he knew that if that show was going to have any legs, he had to have as many legs in front of him that he could, and he took advantage of his ability to get anybody to do that show. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Hey man, I'm here with my dad. He's right up. He showed me Rocky Horror. One of my favorite things is he used to show me movies when I was way inappropriate movies at a very young age.
And look what happened to you.
And here I am.
Yeah.
He was one of those weirdos that used to throw things at the screen and go and see Rocky Horror. And I want to know, what is your weirdest interaction with a Rocky Horror fan?
Wow. Oh, with a Rocky Horror fan.
Yeah.
I've signed so many body parts that they then come back to me tattooed with my signature on their forearm, and I go, you crazy motherfucker. Why would you do that? And I think I was so, at some convention a couple of years ago, somebody came up to me and said, would you sign my arm, and so I took the pen and I signed his arm like from there to there, from there, and I thought, he's not going to do it, and then he did it. And I thought, you crazy motherfucker. Why would you do that? I've seen some wonderful tattoos. I mean, some Rocky Horror things, portraits and stuff of Tim and Pat and Nell and Susan, and I don't have any tattoos, so it's hard for me to relate to it other than the fact that I won't make that mistake again, because somebody will tattoo something that large and that and then I'll see checks probably with my signature on signature on it. Those are probably the craziest things. The fans for Rocky Horror have been so good over the years. They are, because they're all out. There are so many originals, the real fans. They're also, sweet and awkward. Were you awkward?
Every chance I could.
Yeah, okay. You know, they were the outsiders, you know, they were the kids who didn't have their normal group, and they found their group, and they stayed. Have you stayed friends with people from that era? Yeah.
The ones that are still alive.
Yeah, exactly. And it just brought people together, and they've stayed together because it was, you know, I've seen more marriages happen between couples who met at a Rocky Horror, you know, screening or something, and then would get married, you know, at a show or something, and then and I think that was like that was the thing that proved that they liked each other, that they would live forever, because they had that same twisted, you know, sense of the world, you know, and they saw the expansion of the universe, and they loved it and appreciated it, and it was one of the reasons why I'm so proud of the movie, because I think it's changed a lot of lives over the years, and it certainly has been. It's introduced me to a whole part of society that I wouldn't have normally probably associated with if it wasn't for the fans, the shadow cast that I've gotten to know over the years, and the myriad of personalities, and they're all just so lovely. They're all just so lovely people, and I'm happy that they've been in my life. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are you familiar with the question Fuck, Marry, Kill?
I'm sorry, what's that?
The question Fuck, Marry, Kill. I'll give you 3 options, 3 people, and you gotta choose who you want to fuck, who you want to marry, and who you want to kill.
We should have a TVMA. You know?
I had to come up with 3 people.
No, it's a game called Kill. What was that one?
Fuck, Marry, Kill.
Fuck, Marry, Kill, right? And she's gonna give you 3 people, but you have to put those in those 3. One person in each one of those categories.
Is Trump in all 3 of them?
You don't want to marry him, do you?
No, but I certainly fuck him.
Go ahead, name your 3 individuals.
Dr. Frankenfurter.
Was that? Frankenfurter.
Frankenfurter.
Right.
Rocky.
And
Dr. Scott.
And Dr. Scott. Well, all these are guys?
So, fuck them all. I would. But thank you very much for the question, and sit down.
Okay, Terry. Friday. Okay, Terry.
So my question is a little bit different. I was walking by your booth earlier, of course my wife's with it, but I didn't realize that you actually do art. How long have you been doing your paintings and all the other stuff that you're doing at the table? And is that your biggest passion right now?
Oh, yeah, my passion, my avocation is pottery. I'm a potter. And so I've had a studio for 25 or 30 years somewhere, wherever I've been living. And I just make shit, you know, and I love these clocks that I've been making recently, and I brought some to the show. And I love these little jewelry things that I make, that I bring to shows occasionally. But I really am I'm a sort of serious ceramic artist, and I don't have a website or anything, but I live in Mid-State, Florida, so there's a studio tour every year called Off the Beaten Track, and I'm part of that, and people come to me. I should get a website probably eventually, but it gives me great joy, and it gets me out of the house. I don't have to deal with the dogs and the birds, you know, 24 hours a day. And over the years, I've made a lot of things that I've given to charities, and they, you know, auctioned them off. but I focused on Japanese ceramics. Way back, my teachers originally were Japanese potters, and so I used to do a whole line of teaware for the tea ceremony.
Wow.
And then I evolved into using a lot of found objects and things as lids for pots, and I do. My last thing was I was making sake warmers, where it's a two-part thing, where the center thing goes into a larger bowl, and then hot water goes in there, and this sits in there with the sake, and it keeps it hot. And that's always been my problem with sake, not drinking it, but keeping it hot. My son, our son, who just got his master's at Cambridge in England, sent me a picture from he's a physics major. He was at a Japanese restaurant in London a couple of months ago and sent me a picture of one of these things like that, and I started making them. I'm still sort of trying to perfect it. So that's sort of what I'm doing. Now I'm making urns for all of my friends who died. My mother-in-law passed away. I'm making her urn. I'm making another friend of mine's urn who is, and he's getting very specific things to put on his urn. And so that's what I'm doing. Do you want an urn?
No, I'm sorry for your loss, by the way.
What's that?
Sorry for your loss.
Okay. So that's my secondary passion has always been ceramics or pottery, and someday I'll actually have a website and maybe sell it.
We'll get your website set.
That's right.
Yeah, well, my regular website, barrybostwick.com, has got my clocks on it, my jewelry, and posters and all that kind of stuff.
Go buy the stuff right now.
But come buy my clocks. I don't want to have to take them home.
All right, guys. Please give Barry a hand clap. Huge. Did you want to give your picture away?
What was the best question? No, I don't know. Give me a vote. What's that? The underwear. Well, that even wasn't a question, but it was certainly kicked off the afternoon. What is your name?
Steve.
Steve, you get a choice. You get a choice of Megaforce or Rocky Horror?
We'll do Megaforce.
Steve! We're doing a documentary on the making of Megaforce, and it'll come out sometime this year. And it's called the documentary nobody was asking for. It's called it's Life After Megaforce. It's called, and it's really good. We've interviewed everybody who's still alive, and the guy who started the whole thing owns 3 of the original motorcycles, 2 of the cars, the sort of command module, right, and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. Oh yeah, he's the real deal when it comes to fandom, but also he's smart, and we're almost done with this movie. So, Steve.
Megaforce for Steve.
Yeah. Steve, thank you very much. Thank you guys for coming and spending a little bit of Friday with me. And
make sure you go to his table, buy his clocks.
Can you just do one thing for me? Can you say, damn it, Janet, I love you?
Damn it, Janet, I love you. No, I can't say that. So are you.
I appreciate it, guys. Listen,
thank you.
They're doing something a little bit different. Please exit out to the left. You're right. Exit to the right, please.
Steve.
Answer on his last question. Maybe have a quick one. I've always wanted to be